Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another pregnancy update. This update is going to be weeks 9 to 12. So the remaining portion of my first trimester, and then we are going to hopefully, after one more block update, go into more kind of weekly or fortnightly update. So without further ado, let's dive on in. If you haven't already seen my previous update, which was weeks 4 to 8, I will leave it linked in a card up there somewhere. So from about week 9 is probably when things started to kind of vamp up quite a lot. My symptoms were quite like, not like stark obvious pregnancy symptoms. It wasn't like being sick all the time and things like that, but for me it's where things started to be quite like noticeable and kind of consistent. So I've got 3 things here: super bloated, super constipated, and super not hungry. So they probably all kind of coincided with each other. So like not eating made me constipated, being constipated made me bloated, things like that. But yeah, they're certainly 3 things that kind of stood out to me around week 9 and were very uncomfortable. Yeah, it's not nice to not feel hungry, especially when you know it's like vital to not only your health but somebody else's health to be eating and fueling your body and stuff. Like, it's so difficult, but at the same time the thought of eating anything just makes you feel awful. So yeah, I feel like those kind of all coincided with each other. And then the only 2 things more or less that kind of were there during week 9 were my headache was still there. Like I say, it's still there now. So yeah, that was a pain. I kind of thought at the time that it was maybe caffeine withdrawals or something like that, because I know you can get quite headachy when you stop drinking caffeine. Not that I was one of those people that literally like lived off caffeine, like I'm just not, but, and I know I never was, but I felt like that was probably the most likely thing at the time. Like I said, it started quite early on, week kind of 4 to 5 or something like that. So that's what I thought it was, but now that it's been so long, it's like, I don't know if it is. And then the only other thing, week 9, was my boobs. Oh my god. They were just like so sore, it was ridiculous. It didn't last very long at all. Again, it was only kind of maybe 2 weeks that they just were just really sore, and I just got to the point where I was like, is this even going to go away? This is the most irritating thing, because you know, you feel just this weight for one, this like hormonal surge and weight to your boobs, and then like you can't even like sit properly or lay properly without it just being really uncomfortable. You can't even like cuddle your partner. Like, it's just really annoying, and I did fear that it was going to be one of those symptoms that was very consistent and kind of hung around for quite a while, because people do say you get very sore boobs during pregnancy where they're obviously growing and stuff. So it did concern me a little bit, but it did only last a few weeks. But it was just like one of those, when it's happening, it's like, oh my god, is this ever going to end? So yeah. Then from week 10, I was still bloated. My bowels kind of reverted back to being normal again, so the constipation kind of left. My bowels were normal, but I was still bloated. I think that's, again, just a lot of kind of shifting going on in my body. My headaches was still there. So I said 3 weeks at this point. I'm pretty sure it was longer than that. I had the odd day of nausea, like in my previous 4-week update. I did have just an odd few days where I was physically sick. and it started to become because of my headache. It wasn't due to like lack of eating or anything like that, or not that I thought anyway. It did seem to kind of coincide with my headache, which I can guarantee right now it wasn't a migraine. I've had a migraine before once and it's not like that. So don't think it's anything like that or was anything like that. So yeah, and at this point, this is where my first food aversion kind of kicked in. So, well, I have two. One, or what I thought was one, was coffee. And I don't know if that's like some weird thing in the back of my mind, because like my body's telling me don't drink coffee, like, you know, caffeine, please don't do it, kind of thing. I don't know if it was that or it was just the smell of it, because when I drink coffee, it's fine. So I think it was just a smell and thought like process as to why I had an aversion to it. But the one that I had quite a big aversion to was chicken, which made things quite difficult because my husband is a massive meat eater. He's more of a red than white meat kind of guy, but he does like to have chicken quite often, just because it's easy, and you can do it in quite a lot of different things. So it made things quite hard, because while he was away at the start of this year, I'd pretty much been eating vegetarian anyway. So I had some like veggie meat and like mock meat kind of things in the freezer. Apologies. So I was kind of having like fake chicken and he was having real chicken, and it was such a nightmare to have to like cook almost 2 separate meals. But I couldn't eat it. I don't know what it was. I think a lot of it was the preparation, like physically, like kind of touching chicken and things like that. It just, nah, I mean, it's not for me anyway, especially after watching Supersize Me Too, like, no. But yeah, just the taste of it, the texture of it, like everything for me, I was like, I do not want this anywhere near me. So yeah, that's pretty much when that started. The only other thing that happened at 10 weeks was I had my booking appointment with my midwife. So I had, and I know this will vary across the UK, but I had half of my appointment like a physical appointment, and then I had the other half of it over the phone. So the physical bit was just like check height and weight, blood pressure, urine, and do like blood tests and stuff like that, and a couple of basic things. And then the rest of it, like the questionnaire side of things, that's like family history, and things like that, and they went through my bloods at that point, was the bit that I had over the phone, which was like probably, yeah, 2 weeks later, more or less. So yeah, that happened. That was really weird. It just felt weird to like go into this room with this midwife and like talk about things, and she was like, have you thought about your birthing options? I was like, I'm 10 weeks pregnant with my first. I've only lived here for 2 years. No. So that was that. 11 weeks, I've just said, still bloated, still have a headache, and this is where my frequent urination started. Yay. Oh, pregnancy, so glamorous. So yeah, it's quite a common thing to have more of a frequency for urination and things like that when you are pregnant, just because of the extra pressure down there and just other things and just things in the way, things knocking into your bladder and things like that. So that was that. Kind of just feels like when you've got a water infection and you need to go more often, it's just like that. It's nothing like, oh my actual god, I'm going to myself. Like, I'll probably get to that point, let's be honest, but that was that. And at this point, I think I was about 11 and a half weeks ish. I had my 12-week scan. So again, I'm pretty sure for most of the UK at least, you have 20-week, 12-week rather, a 20-week, and at least here you have a 32-week scan if obviously everything's like low risk. And yeah, so I had my 12-week scan. I had to go on my own, which was weird. Obviously going to any kind of outpatient appointment during a pandemic is just bizarre anyway. Obviously there was extra precautions in place, having to wear a mask and things like that. But yeah, going on your own, it's very daunting, I think, especially for the 12-week scan, because those first 12 weeks is when you are thinking the worst all the time, and you're just constantly like, is everything okay? Like at that point you can't feel anything, so you are constantly wondering if everything's okay. So the 12-week scan is the point where they reassure you, in most cases, that, you know, everything's fine. But if, you know, if it were the other way, to be there on your own, like, I can't imagine what it's like to be on your own if you were going to receive like any kind of bad news, whether that's even that like maybe you're higher risk for, you know, a chromosome abnormality or anything like that. Like, oh, it's just awful. So yeah, I'm obviously glad that I am low risk. There's nothing, you know, there was nothing wrong on the scan, everything was fine. But yeah, it was still like shit, especially because with your first, you're just like, you want to share that experience with, you know, baby's dad, like, so yeah, it was shit. But at the same time, like, we'd already discussed the idea of having like a private scan and stuff so that he could come. So yeah, that was that. I had that. So I think I was, like I say, I think at the time I thought I was only around 10 weeks or something like that, or just past 10 weeks, but she put me down as 11 plus 5 at the time. So it put me ahead a couple of days, which is always good. But obviously I know these things change all the time. But yeah, baby was happy, healthy, had 2 arms, 2 legs, all of that shebang, and was wriggling away, and it was just really, really fun. So that was that. And then I've got week 12 was basically the same as week 11. Nothing really changed. I was still late, still had a headache and frequently urinating. So yes, that concludes my next 3 weeks. So like I say, I'm gonna probably do one more block like this, and then we're gonna go up to more kind of weekly updates. I might do a couple more like vloggy bits and things like that, kind of bits we've bought for the baby and things. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to give it a thumbs up if you did, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye guys.